The complaints about the political bias of the Northern Ireland television political presenters just keep rolling in. I will be submitting this video, along with others on the channel, as a formal complaint to BBC NI, to illustrate that recognition of the problem is widespread, even outside Northern Ireland, and will continue submitting complaints while the problem persists. Employment in the field of political reporting is so politically and religiously biased. In another occupation it would be condemned as sectarian, but then who reports on the reporters? In this particular video, Leo Varadkar, the Tánaiste of the Republic of Ireland, complains about bias reporting, by not only the host Mark Carruthers, but with the BBC and media in Northern Ireland in general. While very polite, the irritation of Leo Varadkar at the inaccuracy of the line of questioning is obvious, having to fact-check Mark Carruthers on a number of occasions, but notice the manner in which Mark Carruthers just ignores the rebuke, carrying on regardless with his biased line of questioning, permeating the whole interview with misleading assertions in support of Sinn Féin. In the following video clip, Leo Varadkar complains to Mark Carruthers about his bias in questioning Sinn Féin.
Subject of relations between the parties in the Republic. Does he see the next Irish election in terms of a choice for voters between Fine Gael and Sinn Féin?
It may happen that way. That could happen in politics, and we've a multi-party system, and parties can go from first place to second place to third place and fourth place. You know, it's much more volatile.
But you're worried about where Sinn Féin is in the polls at the moment?
I don't get particularly worried about polls. There's one thing I know about polls is they don't predict the outcome of general elections. Sinn Féin went into the last election in third place, came out first, and at this point in the electoral cycle, in the last Dáil, my party was at 35%, and that didn't turn out on the day.
And
so
Sinn Féin's at 38% and has been over 30% since last October, and I don't think you've been anywhere near that for well over a year. I mean, it's Sinn Féin seems to have the wind in its back at the moment, and that has to bother you.
It doesn't unduly bother me because of the reasons that I explained. I know that opinion polls don't predict the outcome of elections, but even if you do look at those polls, one thing they do show, and we're mid-term at the moment, is the combined support of the government parties is between 40 and 50%. That says to me that it is possible for this government to be re-elected, and obviously I would like Fine Gael to be part of the next government and to be the strongest party in that government. But the way we achieve that isn't by focusing on Sinn Féin, in my view. It's by focusing on the things that people care about the most, whether it's the cost of living, whether it's the housing crisis, whether it's the need to ensure that people have good jobs and good living standards. And that's the focus. But of course, when Sinn Féin attacks us, we will defend ourselves. Of course we will.
But if you pursue an attack line on Sinn Féin, the question is, does it play well or not as far as the public is concerned? It might play well within the Dáil bubble and the social media echo chamber, but in the real world it doesn't seem to be having any impact because it's not denting Sinn Féin's position in those opinion polls month after month.
What we will do as a party is that when we're attacked, we'll defend ourselves. If our party is attacked, we'll defend our record. If individual members of the party, our politicians are attacked, we will defend ourselves. But, you know, I find it a little bit strange is that when Fine Gael defends itself against Sinn Féin, somehow that's our strategy. But Sinn Féin can attack, criticise, be negative about absolutely everyone. Fianna Fáil, Fine Gael, unionists, you name it, and never have to come up with solutions, never have to actually say how they do things better. It seems like a double standard.
Sinn Féin's running at 38% in the polls at the moment, as I said. On those kind of figures, we have to be looking at a majority Sinn Féin government being a possibility next time round. And a Sinn Féin government presumably would clearly push a border poll to the top of the political agenda here in the Republic. Would Fine Gael continue to insist that a border poll would be divisive, or would you support a poll happening sooner rather than later?
Yeah, well, just to say, never in Irish political history has a party won an overall majority on 38%. So I think it's fair to say that whatever government we're going to have after the next election in 2 or 3 years' time, it's going to be a coalition. I'd be fairly confident that will definitely be the outcome. Hopefully a coalition led by my party, but that's to be determined by the public. In relation to your question on the border poll, that is provided for in the Good Friday Agreement, as you know. I believe the aspiration to a united Ireland is a legitimate one. It's something supported by my party, something I believe in, something that our constitution aspires to as well. But I don't think it's appropriate or right at this time. Fundamentally because I think we need to get the Assembly and Executive up and running. We need to resolve the issues around the protocol, and I think that can be done. But also because the tests in the Good Friday Agreement aren't met. It's very clear in the Good Friday Agreement that the Secretary of State for Northern Ireland should call a referendum if it appears that there's a majority in favour of United Ireland. That's not the case. There's been no poll or consistent poll lead at all for unification. And if you look at the Assembly elections, while Sinn Féin gained votes, they didn't gain any seats. SGLP lost seats. The number of MLAs in this Assembly who want United Ireland is actually lower than in the last. So in my mind, a border poll at this stage would be both divisive and defeated, and that wouldn't be a good outcome for anyone.
The BBC has become more of the liability to democracy in the UK, with its left-wing, anti-establishment bias in England, which at most can be an irritation for the normally conservative government. In Northern Ireland, however, it manifests as supporting nationalism, hostility to unionism, causing a siege mentality in unionists and mistrust of media that could ultimately cost lives, presenting no more than a token unionist perspective. Very often, even watering that down, with what they call liberal unionists, whatever that is, wheeled in, to allegedly represent mainstream unionists' views. All the channels are a problem, but as the BBC can afford to air so many political programmes in the name of public broadcasting, it has a disproportionate impact. It would be much better to have the BBC privatised, with the licence fee removed, so that it was more accountable to public opinion, audience demand and commercial influences. In the meantime, it must review its employment policies, ensuring that discrimination in any form is not practiced,